So good morning and welcome to Creative Corner for Breakfast Extra. Mazino Appeal here, and of course we have the delectable, the beautiful, the ageless Zizi Cardow in with us.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you very much for welcoming us into your space. We're so happy to be here. We're in Ikwe currently, and this is the famous Zizi Cardow. Zizi Cardow Couture.
No, I don't have the couture in it. It's just Zizi Cardow, just there.
Okay. What's the difference? Couture, there's this hood couture, there's this.
The haute couture is when you're talking about pieces that are really high end, and then the kind of like maybe a limited editions or bespoke or what, but they're quite high end, expensive fabric. You know, there's so much work put into it. Some of them take up to 6 weeks, 3 months, you know, stuff like that. And so when people add couture sometimes to their name, I wonder why they do that when they're just doing ready to wear.
It's a Nigerian thing.
Yeah, so they're doing a tailoring service and they put couture to their thing, but couture has to do with, high-end tailoring. Any which way you look at it, it's something that you've put in so much work into.
So Zizi Cardow is classified
Zizi Cardow
as
is just a label.
Just a label.
When I started it, I wanted it to be just a brand, and so Zizi Cardow, being my name, is just a brand as it is. So within the brand, of course, we have fusions. We have we have the high-end ones. We have the ready-to-wear. We have the bespoke line and all of that. Yeah.
So let's talk about the origins of Zizi Cardow. You've been around for such a long time.
Yeah, everybody makes it seem like I'm a dinosaur.
No, but that makes it better because being around for so long, you've seen different eras, and then you can put all of that into your art. So let's talk about the very beginning. I remember reading someplace that you started fashion generally from when you were 17 in the, I won't say streets of Apapa because that makes it a bit gritty. You started in the, do I want to say the high-class streets of Apapa at 17? Tell us about that.
Well, Apapa was what it was. Apapa for me is like my village. It's like my home because that's where I grew up. That's where a lot of my siblings were born. And that's where the family home is still, and it still is. So it's a place that's resonates so much to me because if anybody grew up in Apapa, you know that as an Apapa kid you're so in touch with your surroundings. There's no gutter that leads to anywhere that you don't know. You don't discover, because there's all those alleyways leading to various streets. And that naturally when I wanted to start working, it was within Apapa itself. And if you can remember back then, we're talking the 80s and 90s, Apapa was so self-reliant.
Yeah.
It had everything that you wanted.
It was an ecosystem.
Yes, exactly. You could be in there for 6 months and you don't have any need to leave it. Because people were literally coming in for shopping, for whatever it is that you needed inside of Apapa. So when I got my first job, it was as a salesperson in a boutique owned by a Polish lady. And so I think that would be my first experience and the first time I fell in love with fashion. And yes, I was about 17 at that that time. And it was an experience that I would say has led me all through my fashion journey and even till now, because I learned quite a lot. I learned about inventory, I learned about customer service, I learned about the production, I learned about so many things because at a point I was literally the one in charge of the store. And then we now had outlets as well, like in Maloney Supermarket then, and so I was managing all of these branches. And to have all that at that age, it was quite it's quite empowering, I would say. And eventually when I left the store, I started off on my own, and that would be like when I was 20, 21 or something like that.
And that's a very early age to actually start your own thing, and especially in an era where you had the fusion of the punk rock era, but then here in Nigeria was the Ankara era.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the Ankara era then, but the punk rock, yes. I mean, it's funny you mentioned that because I kind of like rocked that age.
You rocked it, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a very interesting era when you have all the, different hair color, the mohawk, the
Exactly.
various belts.
The leather, the belts.
The belts.
And everything. I'm not, it's just I loved it as well. I'm not a very rocky person,
no,
but.
It was very interesting, very lovely. And especially also being in fashion, then you have to dress the part, so people come in, they see the way you're dressed up. And it was even more interesting and fun because my boss then was like an expat, and so she didn't have any qualms about you coming to work with your boots on and your miniskirt and
So how do we get from that punk rock era to you starting your own line and infusing the Nigerian element, the African element, and making it so what's the word, contemporary?
I think I was saying earlier that when I left the store, I started off making uniforms. And again, Papa was a great influence. You had all the ports, you had all the marine offices, functions. So you had the Tom line, Musk line, all of them.
Yeah.
And so I was now busy servicing them in terms of coveralls, and sometimes we're doing fire retardant fabrics for people that want to do like
Zizi Industries. Now that was what it was called.
Industrial clothing.
Industrial clothing.
Yeah. And so we kind of like dabbled into that. I learned also about fabrics, fire retardant fabrics, and all of those kind of. It was a growing up and educating aspect for me, learning about textiles, for various uses, especially if industrial purposes.
So that formed most of your education, because I read one time when you were during an interview, you said you were lucky enough not to have the kind of education people have.
Yeah, the formal education
people have. Talk to us about that exactly.
Funny enough, though, most times when I say this, a lot of people that know me go like, never you say that you didn't have any formal education, because you are more versed than a lot of people, and I'm grateful to that for that, because when you feel you're deficient in something and you want to take the vitamins to augment it. So basically that's what I did in terms of me not having that formal education, like the tertiary education. I just did secondary school, and that was it. And I was not lucky enough to have a university degree.
I say you were lucky enough, because look what all that time did for you.
Yeah, it's hindsight now. You look at it like,
Yeah, I had the time.
I had the time, and I didn't waste it. And so because of that too, I tell people, a lot of young people that are going through, I'm just done with school, I want to get into the next phase, and I'm like, hey, hang on a bit. What exactly do you want to do? This career or this education or this course you want to do now, is that something you want to pursue later on in life? And most times you hear, no, it's not. I'm like, so why do you want to waste those years, waste the resources, waste all of that just to have a degree that you're not going to expand on? And I think that's the greatest problem we're having here in Nigeria as well. When people go, there's no work, because a lot of people spend 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, plus strikes and all of that, to go through an education that you don't intend to pursue as a career. And so you find people who did maybe social sciences or something, and you're expecting to get a job at the bank or in an oil company, and you become disillusioned, because you feel there's no job, but your qualifications don't really fit those places you're looking for, and that is the honest truth.
Very true. Very true. So all of that now, you coming from a papa, you learning fashion from being a sales girl to servicing workplaces, Zizi Industries, industrial clothing is what I'm talking about. And then let's talk about the background. I want to put all of these together before asking how it comes together to become Zizi Cardow. But the one bit I really want to talk about is you being the 11th child out of 15.
Oh my goodness!
That is a lot of brothers and sisters, mostly brothers.
Yes, mostly brothers. And my dad, I would say, is a bandit, or was a bandit. That's all I can say about it, because I don't know how he was able to, just get it bang, 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 like that, 5, 5, 5. So my mom was the least of the wives, and I happened to be her first.
Okay.
And so I had like 10 other siblings that are older than I am. Again, it's very interesting, very formative, very educative.
Did having a lot of brothers
Yes,
sort of like
yes,
affect your style, your sense of style?
it does. It does. At heart, I'm a tomboy. And so I don't have that thing like a lot of women do. I want to go to the salon, I want to have a facial, I want to do this, I want to do that. I don't have those.
That's because it's natural. I mean, look at that
Well,
skin.
I don't know if it's natural, but it's just, I grew up learning how to jump off mango trees to prove that you're man enough, because you have all these brothers who are trying to, they're jumping off these trees, they're jumping off rooftops. Those days, you don't have laptops, you don't have the thing. So everybody is out there on the streets.
The outside was our Instagram.
Yes, the outside wall.
It was beautiful.
So I had to navigate all of that. I had to learn to live with a lot of people, and with that also you learn tolerance, because there's so diverse characteristics and all of that. So you learn tolerance. You learn how to manage or micromanage people, how to be
manage
patient.
different characters, different nuances.
Yes. But most importantly, it teaches you about life, really. It gives you that lessons that you cannot find outside. I was regaling my assistant the other day of some of the things we get up to, in terms of pranks. So you find your antennas are always at an alert. You just now know how to figure out.
Yeah, we didn't have notifications, guys. Our notification was the sun, or it's or your father's car coming from afar. Like, that's daddy, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
We had a thing then, when my dad is coming home, there was a kind of signal with the driver and us in the house. So once he's done the
turn around the bend.
Yes, turn around the bend. There's a way he honks.
Everybody scatter.
There's a coach to it, and once you hear that, everybody's like.
Yeah, everybody's dads in the 80s and 70s had one of those, signals that gave you that's our notification. Let's get out. This is the final part of our little tete-a-tete here. But I'm sure that there's a little girl out there who knows that brand Zizi Cardow, and they're aspiring to be you. What is the one thing that you'd say that they should hold steadfast onto? Real quick.
It would be perseverance. It would be the fact that they believe mostly in themselves. They have to believe in what they're doing. Sadly, a lot of people get into different vocations or careers here because it's what's trending. And so I want to be part of it. I remember when it was beading. A lot of people got into beading. At one point it was salon. Everybody got into hairdressing, salon, all of that kind of thing. And of course what happens is eventually fizzles out. If you don't have the passion or the calling for it, it just kind of like fizzle out, because you cannot base your growth or your sustenance on somebody else's personal journey with their own business. So you need to have that perseverance, you need to have it in you. And I think when that formed really the birth of Zizi Cardow, the Ankara or the ethnic brand, because I had this belief that as Nigerians, especially, we need to have a kind of identity for ourselves, which as at that time we didn't. I keep saying this. You could see a Malian or a Sudanese or somebody from the Zulu tribe, and you could identify them with their clothing. But as at 90s and 20s, we didn't have any of that. A lot of people were more into buying the ready-made stuff, and so I wanted to create that identity. And I think that what formed it was, I had a trip one time to Ghana, and I saw their fabrics are so beautiful, and I kind of saw the way they embraced their traditions. They had all this thing in Adinkra and all of that, and I really loved it. They had even gold pieces, made out of their Adinkra symbols, and I thought that was really beautiful. And so I was like, it just goes with what I had in my mind, because even as at then, 98, 97, I was very much into the Ankara fabrics, and I was just doing it for myself. And funny enough, I had a stint with Leventis stores. I was supplying them then. I was making and supplying them, but people were not understanding what it was. But those were all my formative years.
Exactly.
You know, and so when I started Zizi Cardow, it was the dream I had in my head, and the fact that I held on to it. When I actually started the brand itself, 2000, it was just based on the fact that I wanted to use all that we have. The Ankara, the Ashoke, Kurukurubite, Akwete, Akwacha, all of those kind
everything to identify a Nigerian brand.
Identify, you know, a Nigerian brand. And if I didn't believe in myself then, I would have fizzled out. Because first year, second year, third year, it was a terrible nightmare.
I can imagine.
So nobody, even, you know, it took years for people to begin to
finish up.
It took years for people to begin to understand the dream or the vision I had.
So I'm thinking of that lady out there who's thinking of being like you. So I guess you've heard it. Just
believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself, persevere, you'll get there. It's been a very, very interesting conversation with you. Absolutely have enjoyed intruding into your life a bit. And thank you for welcoming us into your space. Welcome. And thank you for being on our Creative Corner.
Oh, thank you.
We appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
You're
thank
welcome.
You.
Yes, indeed. And that's it. Let's get back into the studio now.